we're going to start talking about the next part of LCAP today and what to expect. So Miko's getting our slides up and going, and we'll just do a quick review of what to expect on the agenda, and then we'll just roll right into it. And hopefully others will join as we're rolling along here. So as I mentioned at the start of the school year, PAC and DELAC have an important and an official role according to the state rules regarding the LCAP. And so I want to prep you on what that role will be this spring and make sure everybody has those meeting dates on the calendar. Principals, I see we have some of you here. Please help me and make sure that your PAC DELAC representatives know those dates. We really do need everybody to attend those meetings that are coming up so we can get that feedback from this group. So the LCAP, in case you haven't been to the meetings recently, LCAP is the Local Control and Accountability Plan, and this is a required document. It is refreshed every 3 years, and it is our district improvement plan, and it serves 3 purposes. It's part of our comprehensive strategic planning, so it's linked to our district priorities, our local strategic plan, as well as the site SIPSAs, and it helps us set those targets over a 3-year period, and then every year we refresh it. Also, it is the way that we get engagement from our educational partners. So that includes parents and staff and community members. It's the way that we get feedback on the direction of the district and the priorities that we're setting in the years ahead. It's also part of the accountability and compliance aspect of our state. So our California Department of Education actually approves our LCAP plan. And that's done through our relationship with our County Office of Education. So every year we take a look at our LCAP, we go through these processes, and we've been talking about this last couple of meetings. We go through a development process, and that includes looking at our data. In our past PAC and DELAC meetings, we've been looking at the California dashboard, we've been looking at all of the metrics, looking at how we have been doing over the last 3 years. And we have these meetings like this one all across the district in different ways, gathering feedback and getting input as part of the development process. And we go into a draft stage, which will be coming up for this group later this spring. And once we finish that feedback and the drafting, we bring it to the board. There's a public hearing and a board adoption of the plan. And then it goes to our county office, who is acting on behalf of the state for review and approval. And once the plan is approved, then we go into the implementation phase for the next school year. And up in the corner there, can we go back one more slide? Up in the corner there, I put that figure that we shared at the last meeting. You might remember from last time that the LCAP, it comes with supplemental funding. And it's a small amount of our annual budget, but you can see there it's projected to be a little over 8 million. There will be some carryover funds from this year's LCAP, which is normal. You know, we make plans, but very rarely do we spend exactly on the penny to the plan. So the number goes up a little bit with that carryover year to year.
Allison, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. You're not sharing your screen anymore.
Oh, thank you, Miko. Can try that. Thank you so much for telling us, Amanda. So while we're fixing that, the primary purpose of the LCAP is to address the needs of our unduplicated pupils. And that means our students who are English learners, low income, and foster youth students. That's the primary purpose. So everything that we're looking at, we're always looking at through that lens, and also thinking about all students, but keeping that primary purpose in mind. Are you able to see it now, Amanda?
I'm not. I don't know if other people are. I don't know if it's a user error. I'm not seeing it.
Sarah, can you see it?
I can see it.
Okay, well, and it could just be me. We'll just,
All right. Well, if others can't see it, please let us know in the chat and we'll try to, we were having some tech trouble right at the
I'll
beginning.
jump out and jump back in. That might fix it.
Okay, great.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. Miko, can you advance the slide? Okay, so I want to share with you the elements of the LCAP. And the reason why I want to do this is because in May, I'm going to be sharing the draft LCAP with you. And you know, the great thing about the LCAP is we have lots of input meetings and lots of focus on engagement. The thing that's not so great is over the years, the state has added many sections and requirements. So it's very long, it's hundreds of pages. And so before I give it to groups, I always like to review kind of what to expect in hopes that when you do get the document, for review that you'll kind of know what you're looking at and how to navigate it because it is quite long. So these are the required sections and you can see on the left there are the elements and then there's a little explanation under each one. So this document is created in a partnership between Ed Services and the business office. So some of the sections are related to the fiscal aspects, including that first one mentioned there. So there's an overview page, budget overview for parents, and it's going to give that broad brush of the district's budget. And then there's an analysis of what is called the increased and improved services requirement. And what this means is getting back to the primary purpose of serving our English learners, low income, and foster youth students, every year we have to show that we are increasing and improving what we're doing for those students. So that's a section of the LCAP where we're explaining how are we every year trying to make gains in that area and doing more for our students who need the most support. Then there is something called the goal analysis and the annual update. And you might remember from last time that I mentioned we're going to be at the beginning of the next 3-year cycle. So what's happening is we're closing out the prior 3-year cycle through the annual update. And it's kind of saying, you know, how did it go over the last few years? And then what will that mean for our new plan? So the beginning of the LCAP is all about that. How did it go last time? What are our reflections? What does it mean for the changes that will be made in the new plan? And then we start moving into the plan summary for the new plan. And this is for the reader, could be a community member, could be somebody from our district. So it's very kind of back to basics overview, talking about how many schools do we have? Where are we located? What are our demographics? What do our dashboard results say? What are some highlights of our plan? And then calling out any areas where we really need to have increased focus. You know, you might remember we talked about the dashboard and how we want to be in the blue and green category. So any areas that are red on the dashboard, we call it out in these areas. And then there's a section where we talk about our engagement meetings and how we engaged our partners. So this will be part of it, how we had our PAC and DELAC meetings, how people had an opportunity to give input, like at our last meeting when we did our jam board and people had a chance to share their ideas for what we should focus on over the next 3 years. And in that section, we talk about the meetings that we hold, as well as how did the input influence the creation of the new plan. And then we kind of get into the meat of the new plan. What are the goals? What are the metrics for measuring the impact? And what are the specific actions that we will take? So this is where we address the requirements for the different state priorities and the different requirements that need to be in all of the school districts' LCAPs, as well as anything that we choose to add based on the feedback that we've received locally. And then we go into the increased and improved services section for the new plan. And just like I mentioned a few moments ago, we're doing this again for the new plan, talking about how are we increasing and improving what we are doing for our English learner, foster youth, and low income students who are, the primary focus of the plan across the state. And then there's a section at the end called the action tables, and this is really a summary of all the budget information. The primary budget source is that number that I shared at the beginning, the LCFF supplemental funding. And all of those dollars will be included in the plan. And then any additional dollars that we choose to include in the plan based on the actions that are there, based on the feedback and the state priorities. So it's not the entire district budget. It is a section of goals, metrics, and actions that are reacting to the dashboard and the requirements and the feedback that we've received. So that is the overview. I'm going to pause there and see if anybody has a question about any of that. Okay, I think we can keep going. I think we have to go back one. There we go. Okay, so we've been having a lot of meetings like this. Our principals have been meeting with their leadership teams, and we've been having just lots of input sessions across, the last couple of months. And this process will be continuing as we have additional meetings and conversations and refine our plan. But I wanted to share so far some of the themes that have come up from the feedback to date. And the first one is every time we do input meetings, we always hear feedback around the importance of continuing to focus on our core mission, which is academic excellence. And we've had such a long-standing tradition of excellence in this area, and people often voice, let's continue that. Let's make sure that we're, continuing to do all of the things that have resulted in those strong academic results and strong academic foundations for students over the years. Over the last LCAP cycle, we also have added interventions in reading and math. And this shows up in a variety of ways. We have intervention classes that you might hear us refer to it as tier 2 classes. We have that in place now, but we also have things like Summer Bridge, Elevate Summer Math classes, learning hubs, things that are offering additional learning time outside of just the regular classroom. And people have been voicing the importance of continuing that and strengthening that and how much it's making a difference for the students. Additionally, we have been having conversations around a section of our strategic plan called the Portrait of a Learner. And this was put in place prior to the pandemic, and now we're refreshing it. And what this is all about is what else do kids need beyond those core academic skills, which will always be very, very important, those core content skills? What else do kids need in order to be prepared for their future? And this is what is captured in our Portrait of a Learner, thinking about future-ready, deeper learning, those skills that transcend content and go across all the different academic areas that the kids are learning. And I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. Also, over this last LCAP cycle, we've been expanding elementary music and as well as middle school electives. And there's been a strong desire to keep the momentum in these areas, especially because Prop 28 funds came in over the last LCAP cycle. And so we're in the process of expanding elementary music from 4th and 5th grade district provided music to going all the way down to TK. So that is in process and will continue. We've also been, some of that Prop 28 fund has gone to the middle schools for enhancing supplies and things of that sort in the arts in middle school electives. And then of course, we've also expanded the opportunity for middle schoolers in 7th and 8th grade to take a second elective if they choose to. So keeping the momentum on that work has been something that has been voiced. And I saw a question came up in the chat. Tier 2 math options. So in our Tier 2 math, we have focused that support at schools with our highest needs. However, Rachel, ask your principal, because I do know there is something happening over at McAuliffe in this area, and we've provided materials and resources, so definitely ask about that. In terms of staffing, we've assigned that staff across the district based on the results and the unduplicated count. However, our director who oversees math also has been doing lots of professional development with teachers, and some of these materials are also infused in the regular classroom. So really good question. Going down the list on the feedback to date, another really big push has been around helping kids feel that sense of belonging at school. Making sure that we have positive learning environments, positive behavior, social emotional learning skills that are directly taught, and resources for mental health. So we've been boosting up our counseling. We've had new materials provided for elementary teachers in social emotional learning, and all schools are getting ready to either begin or continue their training in something called PBIS, which is a system for supporting positive behavior at school. Another thing we've heard more about, I would say, in this feedback cycle so far is parent education, and a desire for more coordination around that. We've been offering lots of parent education opportunities. We're part of something called Parent Venture. So parents, you probably see these emails every week. It seems like there are wonderful, renowned speakers and options for parents, and we want to keep that going. But also, parents and also staff have been saying, what if we curated something that was a little more targeted around the kids' developmental levels, and kind of encouraged parents to attend a few select sessions on top of continuing the choices that we offer. Another thing that we've heard, especially from our school site teams, is the importance of continuing to provide flexible funding to the school sites. Our schools do a SIPSA plan each year. This is the school improvement plan annually that comes through the parent group, like site councils or other similar groups. And over the last LCAP cycle, we've been providing flexible funds through the principals so that they can take action on their site goals. And that includes things like having funding for the recess support. So if you're at an elementary school and you have, a group like La Garza or Recess 101, those kinds of supports, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on. Student clubs are funded this way as well, student leadership opportunities, support for all of the supplies that are needed for things like PBIS and positive rewards. And also in this area, we talked last time about chronic absenteeism. And we know that our student attendance rate has declined since the pandemic. And that's true not only here in Cupertino, but really across the nation. And in our next cycle, we're going to need to place a stronger emphasis on that and make sure that our students are coming to school regularly. So just that recognition that the district has a plan, but also school sites have so many things that they want to work on around academics, social emotional learning, whole child, and student attendance. And they need resources at the school site level to be able to do that. So the importance of continuing to make sure that we're putting funds in the hands of the site teams to make those decisions around their SIPSA. Okay, questions about any of that feedback so far? A lot of these things came from you as well on the Jamboard last time. Okay, let's keep going. Interrupt me anytime with questions. So I wanted to put this up. I think I may have shared it with you another time, but getting back to that portrait of a learner and the future ready, deeper learning, we know academic skills, the core content skills, those are always going to be important. The state gives us a set of learning standards in reading and math and science and social studies and all the areas. And we're always, working hard to make sure that the kids are getting what they need and really excelling in those areas. And we also know the world is changing so quickly. When we go to the national conferences, I always feel like nobody knows this better than schools in Silicon Valley. The world, the pace of change has maybe never been greater. And so we know that just the academic content skills, that's not going to be enough for kids in their future. They also need other durable, transferable skills that go across content areas. And this is our set of those skills, being a critical thinker, being an effective communicator, being a global contributor, somebody who's a problem solver who can make an impact, whether that be in their kindergarten classroom or at their school or in their neighborhood or eventually in the world, being somebody who can get out there with their ideas and their voice to make a positive impact, to be an inclusive collaborator, somebody who works well with others and can listen to people's ideas and work as part of a team. And to be an inspired creator, somebody who can put forth their unique ideas and use their creativity as a contributor. And then the other two here, this really came forward as a result of discussions after the pandemic, being resilient, making it through those challenges that all of us face, and really persevering and sticking it out when things get hard, and then maintaining a sense of wellness and being taking care of ourselves so that we can continue to keep going. These are skills that students need on top of those academic core content skills. And so as we go into the next LCAP cycle, you will hear us talking about the portrait of a learner, both at the district level and at your school site level.
Are you cheering for me?
Okay. Any questions on that portrait of a learner? Okay, we'll keep going. Okay, so going into the next LCAP, we're at this point thinking we'll keep our goals mainly the same, these three big buckets, with a little bit of, tweaking on some of the wording to reflect where we are now. But these have been, in place for a few years now. And the goal one is really about just what we were talking about, strong academics and also the portrait of a learner, that future ready learning for our students. The second one is our commitment to the whole child. So in our little CUSD logo, we always say a reference to the whole child. And what we mean by that is that the kids are growing and developing, not just academically, but also in all the ways that kids grow. They're growing socially and emotionally and physically, and we want them to thrive through those stages of development. We know that creating those positive, safe learning environments where kids are excited to be at school and where they feel that sense of belonging, it works together with their academic skills to help them be successful. And then the third goal, we've always had a goal around community engagement. We know that working together with our families and our community partners, that makes everything we do stronger for our kids. So we want to keep a focus on that area as well. So later this spring, I'm going to be sharing the whole plan with you, and you'll have a chance to provide feedback. But I've found over the years that having a little kind of cheat sheet of the specific actions is somewhat helpful, because it's kind of pulling them out of the very long plan and just having it kind of all in one spot. So I'm going to share that with you today. I want to just say that it's draft because we're still having our meetings and our input sessions. And also, it's just the specific actions. You won't see the dollar amounts today, but you will see it when you get the draft plan. You'll be able to see the funding sources and the dollar amounts that go with each action. But at this stage, we're just kind of playing around with our actions, making sure that they are meeting the requirements and also reflecting the needs that were shown in the data as well as in the feedback sessions. So I'm going to ask Miko to click on the link there. And then what we're going to see is a set of draft actions underneath each goal. Can you make it a little bigger, Miko?
Yes.
So thinking back to all the different feedback that we were just going over, you can kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at this. And the blue there is telling you the goal. So underneath goal 1, that future ready learning, we have things listed underneath there that are in support of that goal. So things like continuing the reading and math intervention, continuing things like learning hubs and summer bridge. Also, just some basic things, in terms of basic instructional materials, we refresh those textbooks on a cycle. So you'll see things like we're going to be recommending new textbooks for our world language classes, Spanish and French electives in the middle school. We also are going to be refreshing our elementary science materials in grades 3 to 5. So things like that are listed under goal 1. I'm going to do just a quick overview of each of the goals, and then I'll give you some time to just read it and see if there's any questions that you have. Under goal 2, our whole child goal, we have things such as continuing to provide the funds for things like the clubs and the recess support and PBIS, and continuing to expand our counseling and mental health support, making sure that we're having a process for monitoring student attendance to address that issue of chronic absenteeism, continuing to expand music and arts electives. Also, AI is listed there. And actually, I need to move that up probably to under goal 1. Should be under goal 1. The impact of AI is something that's coming up quite a bit from our teachers, interest in learning about how can some of the AI tools for education support our teachers in personalizing for students. And then under goal 3, our community engagement goal, we have things such as Project Cornerstone continuing, providing parent education, making sure that we're providing translation for students, parents who need that to engage in meetings, and continuing our support. We have a community engagement office, and we have our parent liaisons that work across the schools to support parents, and making sure that we're continuing to have those things. So that's just an overview. I'm going to give you a few minutes here to read it over and see if you have any questions. And I'm going to fix that AI one while we're doing that.
Allison, can you put a link to the slides in the chat, or I have just your copy, so I don't know if I can do it since it's through my email. I didn't have the slides when I originally sent out the email.
Oh, is it in the Word docs now or no?
I was going to add it when I was going to add it right after the meeting.
Yeah, no problem. I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
It's going to take me a minute to.
I will add it to board docs for so people can link it and see it later, so they can click on it. I'll do it right after the meeting.
Okay, let me know if you think we need more time. You can click on the link in the slides if it's easier to read that way as well. And, we'll come back to this. It's a draft in process all the way through spring. So if you see something here and then later you have a question, you can always reach out to me and we'll be reviewing it at the next meeting as well. So it's not your last chance to have input. It's just kind of a preview of what's to come so you can kind of orient yourself as to what to expect in the longer document. Okay, well, we'll keep going. Okay, so this is what is coming next. At our next meeting on May 14th, we're going to be meeting in person to review the draft, and that will be here at the district office. It's really important that we have as many people there as possible in terms of parent representatives. So principals, if you can please spread the word, and parents, thank you for marking your calendar. As I mentioned at the start of the meeting, this is one of the official roles of PAC and DELAC, is that we really do need to get people's input. So if you can make a plan to come to that meeting, that would be great. We also invite all families to review the draft LCAP. So that will be going out through Parent Square. And we have a form where people can submit feedback. So feedback's collected from all parents. And then there's a period of time where people can take their time to review the draft and submit comments. And then on May 28th, another one of the requirements is we provide an opportunity for PAC DELAC parents to ask questions of Superintendent Yao. And those questions get posted per the requirement on the district website with responses from Superintendent Yao. So at the meeting, we'll collect the questions and we'll prepare the responses after the meeting and post them on the website. At the May 28th meeting also, we will be moving into the next required plan, which is kind of a companion to the LCAP, and it's called the Draft Federal Addendum. And this document is outlining the plan for using the federal funding sources. So this is like Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, those funds. It outlines how we'll be using them for the next school year. So we'll be moving into that next input cycle. And then in June, we bring the LCAP and the federal addendum to the board, and we do the public hearing and then the board approval later in June. So that's what to expect coming up. I'm hoping that today kind of gives you a sense of what to expect and what will be coming in terms of the LCAP draft review. Does anyone have a question, or do you want to share any other feedback or thoughts about what you're hoping to see in the LCAP? Okay, well, I appreciate everybody being here. Please do reach out to me at any time if you have thoughts to share. All feedback is welcome, and we sincerely appreciate everybody's time. And this is just our meeting calendar. We're almost to the end of the meetings. It's amazing how fast time goes by every school year. I look forward to seeing you at our next meeting, and that will be in person. Thank you, everybody.